So as I started to mention, I find one of the best ways that these classes, really benefit both, you, of course, and me even, is to ensure that, we've got some back and forth, a little bit of a conversation going. So if I pick on you today, I'm not picking on, you necessarily, personally, but I will be, look, I'm looking to interact a little bit. So are we ready to go, or do we have anything, any sort of intro planned, or should I just go for it?
Sure. There. Dr. Mala's class and my class, I'm looking at y'all on. Neil Schwartz is here to talk to us today about data analytics, sport analytics. Neil is a recent friend of our program because of our connection with SBRnet and the use of the data that he collects and provides to help with research. And so we connected with Neil in the spring and have loved the relationship that we have with him, and asked him to come speak to you all about analytics. And so Neil, you and I have talked about the class makeup, and the rest of the time is yours. So thank you.
Yes. So first, I want to thank Dr. Mala and Dr. Sombrito for inviting me in today. I did participate in a class in the spring, and I really enjoyed it. And I've really enjoyed working with both Dr. Mala and Dr. Sombrito. I did speak to Dr. Sombrito earlier, and he told me that for many of you, this is an introduction to sports business, sports management, sports marketing, anything related to the word sports. And you know what? It's a great time to be in this business, I have to say. I've been in the marketing for 6 years, over 20 of it in sports, and I will tell you that, whether you decide to stay in the sports business or utilize, go into something else, this is a great time to be in the sports business. And we're going to talk a little bit about that today. But first and foremost, what we want to talk about is how, important data is to the sports business. And what I like to ask is, and I'm going to share my screen, at least I hope. Yeah, I'm going to share my screen. And the question I want to ask to everyone is, are you data driven? Are you used to, or do you understand how to work with data? This over so I can talk a little bit easier here. There we go. Is everyone seeing my screen with the little circles and it says, are you data driven? Okay, thank you for the thumbs up there, young man. So the question I asked today is, are you data driven? Because just like Dr. Mala said at the top of the presentation, data is currency. The more you have, the richer you are, the better you're going to be able to make decisions. But what I would like to do first, of course, is just to introduce you a little bit to my company and to me. So SBRnet, we've been around actually since 1998. My partner, Mark Sullivan, and I bought the company over 3 years ago. But really our focus is to be a comprehensive source of data for the academic, and also we provide a lot of data into the sports world. But our goal is to be a one-stop kind of location for everything sports data related in the sports marketing, sports business, sports management type area. We are not all about, on-field performance. So I'm not going to be able to help you with, if you got a presentation and you want to figure out, what's the best team to have at the end of the game, in the SEC on a basketball. That's not what we do. What we do is really, really focus on a number of very specific topics, things like fandom. How many fans are there? What are their habits and behaviors? We help you understand this data for sales-driven. Some of you might go into a sales-driven job. And by the way, sales is a wonderful way to get started in the sports business. You may want to get involved in sponsorship. You go to a game, you see all the various sponsors around the game, you watch TV, you watch streaming, you see the various sponsors. One of the areas that I think is really exciting is event creation. When I say event, that's everything from a tournament of Little League teams coming to your city to bringing in national championship events, sports participation. Dr. Sombrito told me there's a couple of folks in here that are in like the exercise physiology program. Who are any of you in this class? Can you raise your hand if you are? So we've even got a lot of interesting data for you because, you know, as someone that's going to be into exercise and physiology and fitness, you know, there's an obesity crisis in this country, and it's not like I'm telling anybody a secret. But fitness is one of the components to that. And we can talk a little bit about how you, as an exercise physiologist, need to better understand what are the components to this obesity crisis and how fitness can play a huge part of it. And then, of course, we've got things like sports management, sports business, sports marketing. So we really do cover a wide range of topics. We're not going to cover all of that today, I promise. It's just too much. It just is. What we're going to do is we're going to pick out a couple of little scenarios, and I'm going to talk about how data is used and how data can play a really important role in that. But our fan data is what we're most noted for. We cover 19 sports across 65 categories of data. And what we do is we collect that data and then we provide it back along with the history, everything from fan demographics all the way to you know, sports travel, sports gambling, streaming, you name it, you know, we're really involved in it. From my perspective, I've been in the research business for over 26 years. I have literally, you know, I like to say that I was doing data before data was cool. I latched onto data a number of years ago, even before the sports business, when I was working at Comcast and their corporate offices in Philadelphia. And I found out how important data can be, and I became data-driven. I learned that data can really be a huge game changer. As Dr. Mahler and Dr. Sombrito talked about, you know, right now we are in the middle of this data revolution. How many of you here have accessed or used ChatGPT or one of the other AI engines in order to get an answer to a question or in order to understand something? I'm going to raise my hand. Anybody else want to kind of nod in on this? I've been amazed. I've asked ChatGPT some, you know, interesting questions. I'm in a fantasy sports pool for fantasy sports thing for golf. So one of the things I asked ChatGPT was, could they give me the in order of finish at the British Open golf tournament? And, you know, while they came back with information that I kind of already knew, it was kind of interesting to read what it came back with. Look, AI is going to be the future. There's no question about it. But we're going to need people that have to drive those AI engines. We're going to have people that are going to understand what data is going to be needed in order to be able to collect the currency of data. So what we're going to talk about today is, are you data-driven? Are you learning, and you're at the beginning stages, to tell a story with data? Because I can tell you one thing, insights and data can bring everything you're doing to life. I'm going to relate a quick story. One of our interns went for a job at one of the large marketing, sports marketing firms in the country. And while he was there, he started quoting a whole bunch of data from us that related to the job that he was being hired for. When he was done, the interviewer said, where did you get that data? And how did you learn how to use it? Because the data that you just used and the story that you just told is one of the challenges that we are currently working on. Data is a great way to tell a story, and insights are what bring it to life. Look, anybody can quote a piece of data. Anybody can tell you the win-loss record, you know, for the Dallas Cowboys, the Miami Dolphins, you know, University of Texas football, whatever it might be. But it's not everyone that can bring the insights to life, because that's really what brings it to life. But what I want to share with you are a couple of things real quickly, because not all data is created equal. It's just not. So what I like to say is anecdotes are not facts. So if somebody tells you a story where, oh, I heard that this is going on, that's an anecdote. That is not a fact. You want to be fact and data driven. Platitudes are not facts. People have all these sports metaphors and sports platitudes and all that. You know what? Those are nice to listen to. They are not facts. They are not data driven. One of the platitudes that a lot of people like to use, I'm a golfer. And one of the platitudes that everybody likes to talk about is that you drive for show and putt for dough. You know what? Prove it. Nobody's proved it to me. Driving to me is just as important as putting. Playing the long game is just as important as the short game. So you know what? Platitudes are not facts. Emotional observations are also not facts. I get these all the time. I have a friend who's investing in pickleball right now, and he's chatting with me at lunch one day and told me about all these things that I love pickleball, and I think everybody else loves it, and he was getting all emotional. And I was like, "Are you done yet?" And he said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, everything you just said are not facts. Yes, pickleball is the fastest growing sport in America, and we're going to talk about that, by the way, in a few minutes. The last thing is any sentence that starts with someone told me, not a fact, unless they can prove it. Remember, we want to be facts-based. What I have found is that a driven approach has the ability to inspire. And that's how you change people's minds. That's how you're successful in getting what you want, whether it's that first job, whether it's, whether you want to get something from your mom and dad, whether you're hoping to be able to convince your study group about a particular topic. Data and a data-driven approach has the ability to inspire. And I can tell you from firsthand, I use data a lot. In fact, a lot of my friends hate it when I do. But it allows you to focus on what's important. It allows you to build contingencies and revisions. It allows you to focus on market conditions. And you know what? It works in business to business or B2C, business to consumer. It works in all situations. Data and insights have the ability to inspire. And what I'm hoping is that we're going to inspire a couple of you to say, you know what? I'd like to get more involved in data. You know what? I'd like to get more involved in data analytics. I'd like to learn a little bit more about how to produce data visualizations. I want to be in sales maybe when I get out of school, because Neil said that is a great entry point. And you know what? It really is. So again, though, but it all starts philosophically. A data-driven approach sets the right tone, provides a clear focus. Also, one thing important, never rely on one data source. I like to talk about data as like making soup. You've got a challenge, whatever it might be. Think about all the different data points that can go into making the soup of that challenge or helping you overcome the story. Again, picking the right data, determine KPIs. Does anybody know, and it's up on the screen, what a KPI is? Anybody want to chime in on this one? Key performance indicator. How about the gentleman, it's in exercise physiology, kind of in the front row in Dr. Sombrito's class. What is a KPI? What's something that you might consider a KPI? How about your grades that you get in class? How about the alpha grades, the alphabetical grade? That's a KPI. It's a key performance indicator. It's how we measure. Because what I like to also say is you can't monitor what you can't measure. So grades are a KPI. Dollars are a KPI. For business, something called EBITDA, or earnings before interest, tax, and I forgot the last word, again, is a KPI. The other thing I like to talk about is, what does success look like? If your goal is to get an A in this class, that's what success looks like. Your key performance indicator is the grade. Success looks like an A. I want to benchmark that maybe against what the other kids in the class, are thinking they're going to get, or what I'm getting in other classes. So you always want to benchmark and measure. So let's talk about a specific situation. We're going to use a use case, and that's growing sports participation or even event creation. But right now, I'm going to tell you a fact. Pickleball is the fastest growing participation sport in America. The fastest growing. It is up in terms of participation. Here comes the fact, everybody, 64% year over year. That's just unbelievable. Let's talk a little bit about why pickleball. I have a couple of questions here. Just by raise of hands, how many of you have tried or played pickleball ever? Okay. How many of you have tried it in the last year alone? Actually, me too. So, what we're finding is, again, being able to understand what's going on. The young lady in the front of Dr. Mama's class, tell us a little bit about your first experience with pickleball. Did you enjoy it? Are you going to keep playing? Just stand up, tell me your name, and tell me a little bit about your experience with pickleball.
So I'm Brooke, and I literally just played pickleball like 3 days ago, actually. Like that's the first time.
Wow.
Yeah, one of my friends here asked me to go play, and I had been at work all day, so I was tired and I really didn't want to, but it was like super easy. And compared to like other sports I've played, like I didn't really break a sweat or get that tired. So I would just
Maybe you need to run around some more.
it's sport for people that like don't want to be like running a lot or like putting forth that much effort.
I'm ready. You don't want to lose one game, but I'm happy.
Look, I hear, look, a lot of people, I play pickleball, and I play it because, I can play a game in 45 minutes, which for me, I'm a little time impoverished because between my business and my life and the job and playing occasional golf, I enjoy pickleball a lot. But if you're asked to talk about pickleball, the place to start on our site, and I'm going to bring this over, and then I'm going to stop the share and restart it again. So give me a second here. I hope. Whoops. There we go. Hold on. I'm going to bring my website over, I hope. Actually, I'm going to stop the share. I'm going to bring this over here. Doesn't seem to want to go at the moment. Oh, I know why. Okay, here we go. And I'm going to reshare. So this is my site. This is SBRnet, and you get there via your library website. So you have automatic access to all of the data that we currently provide on SBRnet. And there is just so much here for you to use and understand. But on our site, everything starts right here at the upper right-hand corner in what we call mega search. So let's say we wanted to do a project on understanding a little bit more about pickleball. I'm going to type in pickleball. Hopefully I'll spell it right. Oops, I did not. What will come up when we type in pickleball into our search feature are, number one, on the left-hand side, are relevant articles. Articles are a wonderful way for you to get some baseline knowledge. And we provide you with baseline information or just some information about, in this case, about pickleball. Franklin Sports named the official ball sponsor for Pickleball Australia. Not really sure why that's newsy, but it is. So again, what we do is that we will first provide you with a list of relevant articles. So if somebody decides, hey, I'm going to do a project on, I want to bring a pickleball event to, I forgot, what's the, where are you guys located? Are you guys, what city is the school located in?
Neil, we're in Belton, Texas.
Okay, where is that? Give me a little relationship here.
An hour north of Austin,
Okay,
about 5 minutes south of Waco.
so Austin is right now becoming a pickleball mecca. And actually, when you start going down this list of articles, you'll find out that there's a lot of things going on in the city of Austin related to pickleball, by the way, both good and bad. So pickleball is really starting to take hold in a number of cities in Texas. So your project might be, hey, I want to bring a pickleball event to our city. So first you want to understand what's going on with pickleball. How's it doing? What's it doing? Who's doing? There's all sorts of really great, pickleball takes over Raleigh. Not even sure what that's about. But here you can see again, they're looking at pickleball participation in a couple of different cities and things like that. This, by the way, comes from Axios. So you remember when I said, don't worry about just using my data, use other people's. But also on the right side is where we provide you with relevant data on participation. And you can literally click on any of these links and it will take you to pickleball data. So in this case, we are looking at female pickleball participation. And you can see that the numbers have jumped up significantly. So again, I'm going to take you back to the other share I was doing. So give me a second. This switching thing can be a little tough at times. There we go. So again, what you want to do is always start by what we call search. And that's exhibited right here on the screen. Upper right-hand corner, start with search. Now, just to give you an idea about the data, here's pickleball participation. Literally total participation. I quoted you core level or people that play at least 50 times. But in total, from 21 to 22, it's up 86%. You put that into a simple graph, guess what that does? That tells a story right from the jump. It tells me that pickleball is definitely growing. You can see it has grown from 2008, 2018, 2019, it even grew during the pandemic. And by the way, growing during the pandemic was no easy feat. But look what happened when it busted out in 2022. It was up 86%. That's an amazing story. But again, you're telling it with facts. We start looking at, geography. We're setting this table, but we're using data to tell a story. What do we see? The largest regions of the country where pickleball is popular is the South Atlantic. By the way, the South Atlantic is where I live in Florida. You guys are in the West South Central region, Texas. But here you get an opportunity to see geographically, how does it work out? Is pickleball participation big in the state of Texas? It actually is. What's also interesting is that if you look at the total size of the West South Central region versus, let's say, let's even say the South Atlantic region, which is where I live, you'll really find out that even though it's 10% of the people are playing, that 10% is a rather large number. So again, you want to mix your data. You want to be able to bring in different data types. But again, you're using data to tell a story. Been no emotion. There's been no platitudes. There's been no anecdotes. although we did talk about it in the beginning, we're using facts right now. We looked at pickleball also from an age perspective. 64% are under 44 years of age. That's a great, great story. Because a lot of marketers want to be able to reach younger consumers like you guys, like Gen Zs. They want to be able to reach younger consumers. And one of the ways to do it is via pickleball. Pickleball is a great sport to reach younger people. 64%, while you mostly see a lot of old people out there, the fact is that more and more young people are starting, like the young lady in Dr. Mahler's class, are in fact playing pickleball. Do any of you anticipate playing pickleball this term, or maybe trying it out just out of curiosity? Have any of you ever said, hey, I'd like to give pickleball a try? Hey, raise your hand, I'm curious. You know what? Give it a try. It's a lot of fun, very social. You can have a lot of fun playing pickleball. So, when you're doing your investigation, when you're doing your data-driven, when you're doing your story, find a bunch of other relevant data points. Look at the male, female gender breakdowns. Look at household income. Look at all these different data points to tell a story. Because remember what a story has. Story has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And using data allows you to build your story. So I'm not going to ask any of you, but what I'm hoping is as we go through the term this year that Drs. Mala and Sombrito asked me to come back, and maybe we get a chance to maybe develop a story, in relation to a specific project that you're all working on. Because you know what? That's really the best way to understand how valuable data can be, is to be able to tell a story with data. Now, I'm going to move on to a different area. We're going to talk a little bit about sports fandom. Okay, I'm sure I know the answer to this question, but how many of you watch some sports on TV, whether it's traditional, cable, satellite, or streaming? I'm sure it's going to be probably everybody. Come on, don't be shy. The gentleman in the blue shirt in front, you knew I was going to call on you at some point in Dr. Sombrito's class. What's your favorite sport to watch on TV?
NFL.
What is it?
NFL.
What's your NFL? What's your favorite team?
Texans.
Really? Okay, great. Are they going to have a good season this year?
Hopefully.
Everybody's hoping for a good season. It's funny. The NFL season always starts with that hopeful. Hey, I'm going to ask the gentleman sitting to your left with the hoodie on, with the gray hoodie. What sports do you watch on TV?
I watch football.
You do. What's your favorite team?
The Seahawks.
Okay. Called on two people, got two different answers. Well, one of the things we're seeing when it comes to fandom is that the entire definition of fandom is changing. And we have the data that supports that. And this is just an example. Dr. Sombrito, I forgot, how much longer do I have?
We probably got about another 10 minutes before we got to wrap up.
Perfect. I'm going to try to do it in 10 more minutes. 5, maybe some questions. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about our great event, Get in the Game, that I think some of you should take a look at, maybe to help jumpstart your careers in sports. But the biggest thing we're finding right now is that the definition of a sports fan is changing. We define a sports fan as someone that attends at least one game and watches at least one game, either via traditional television media, TV, cable, or satellite, or streaming. But what are we finding? The growth for many of the sports that we track, in fact, most of the sports, is actually coming from streaming. My next question is, how many of you prefer to watch your sports via streaming versus watching on traditional cable or satellite? Nobody? I see a few hands. Because more and more, we are seeing people watching on streaming. Thursday night football. How many of you watch Thursday night football? It's on Amazon now. You're going to have to stream it. Apple's going to be getting, have a ton of baseball games. Apple. How many of you are fans of the MLS, Major League Soccer? How many of you have watched any of the games with Messi? Me. Again, if you want to watch these games, you have to watch it via Apple TV, via streaming. So what we're seeing is that streaming is becoming almost the single most important category when it comes to growing sports fans, almost across the board. Major League Baseball had its first, I would say, double-digit fan growth since the pandemic, and frankly, it all came from streaming. So again, telling a story using the data from the SBRnet website is able to help you tell a story, put the data into a meaningful visualization like what we have on the screen right now, and then be able to tell a story. But again, it's all about a data-driven approach. And look, I'm not asking anybody that you're going to become, automatic data scientists right away. But if one of you in class, I'm going to change this, I hope. Are you seeing the Get in the Game website now? No? Let me stop and reshare. So we are right now in the process of creating an event focused on helping students of color mostly get into the sports business. So if you're serious about a job in sports, I have offered to students of both Dr. Mala and Dr. Sombrito's free registration to the Get in the Game Sports Career Conference. Now, it's going to be relying on you to be able to get up there via travel, and I'm also paid for the hotel. But I'm going to foot the bill for the actual event registration. This is going to be a wonderful opportunity for you to get some education, some inspiration, some motivation, but also learn a lot. We're going to have, just an incredible number of leagues and teams, brands, retail. We're going to have Dick's Sporting Goods is our main sponsor. They're going to be having a tour of one of their retail locations. This is a wonderful way for you to get into the sports business. And once you get there, data would become a big part of what it is that you're using. But I can't stress enough to everyone, data is just where it's at. Data is the new currency. And by the way, I'm not the first person to say that. It's amazing how many conferences I go to where I hear it, but clearly data, is something that will help you in your careers, no matter which way you want to go, whether you're going to be in the exercise and fitness business, whether you'd like to be in the events business, whether you'd like to be working, let's say at, what's the stadium where where the Texans play? Reliant? NRG, my bad. So whether you want to work game day operations at NRG Stadium for the Houston Texans, whatever you want to do, you want to work for a brand, you want to go to work for Nike, Adidas, you want to go to work for, Mizuno or any one of the sports brands. I mean, if you, just look at the things you're wearing for the most part. Most of you're wearing athletic brands, whether it's Nike, Adidas, Under Armour, Champion, Russell Athletic. Look, I can go on and on here. So, and these are all ways that allow you to be able to crack into the sports business. So I want to show one more thing quickly, though, if I may. Hang on. And that is on our site. I can find it. Yes, I can. And then I'd like to, if you have any questions, start thinking about them now, please, because now would be a good time. So on our site, in addition to all the great data, we have something called the Resource Center. If you're serious about a career in sports, I highly recommend you go to the site. It's available through your library. And one, you access our list of podcasts. By the way, our first one is ours. I'm going to tell you a little bit about it. But pick one or two that are in the area that interest you and listen to them. What a great way to get information. We've got our podcast, which is actually called our web series, which is called, interestingly enough, My First Job in Sports. And here we interview people from all different aspects of sports. The gentleman up here now in episode 14 was Jordan McGrigg. Jordan went to a small school in North Carolina, worked his way up into the sports. What was he doing? He was the one that would create the clips that the team would watch to help them improve themselves. He is now in charge of providing all the clips and things for the New York Jets. And we've interviewed a number of people in a number of different areas. I cannot stress enough, if you're serious about sports, use these resources. Top people to follow on social media. You know what? You can't follow all these people. Hell, I don't follow all these people. But figure out one person. It would be awesome if you all followed SBRnet on Instagram. If you all followed SBRnet on LinkedIn. If you all followed SBRnet on Twitter. There's a lot of great information, but it's a great place to start. But pick out somebody that you think, hey, I'd like to, this guy, Alex Silverman. He is a really interesting guy. He does sports for Morning Consult. It's one of the bigger news services that are out there. I love personally Morning Consult. So I want to thank Dr. Sombrito and Dr. Mala again. And I'm hoping that they'll invite me back, maybe in the middle or towards the end of the term, and maybe we can work on some specific data-driven projects, because as you know, I'm all about the data. So again, I want to thank everybody. Are there any questions and anything at all about anything data or, anything at all about the sports business,
Neil, Jesse, I'm gonna have you start us off, get one student. We got about 5 minutes.
I have a question, by the way, also.
One student from yours, Jesse, and then I'll grab one of mine, and then I'll let you.
All right. We're gonna go with.
Yes, sir. Jay.
Dr. Mala, way to go.
The second one? Yep. All right.
You gotta go to like the middle.
What's your name? You got to tell me. Turn around. Do a 180. Turn around so I can see you. There you go. What's your name? Don't look at the screen. Look at me.
Okay, my name's Austin, and I was just, we've been learning about artificial intelligence, and I wrote a report about it back in my high school, like towards the end of the year. So I was just wondering, have you ever like incorporated artificial intelligence into like your marketing or consumer research processes? And if so, do you notice like any major successes or downfalls, like comparing an artificial intelligence approach to like a human approach?
I have to be honest and tell you that that's by the way, a dynamite question. I have to be honest and say that I haven't really used an artificial intelligence approach yet. One of the things that we are doing currently is that we are putting our data into what they call a business intelligence system. We're actually going to be using Microsoft Power BI. That will probably be my first opportunity to utilize, artificial intelligence to be able to find some signals. People use the word signals all the time, and a signal, of course, tells you, where do you look? What's going on? They use the bat signal to call Batman, and Native Americans, used smoke signals way back when. But the idea is, what are the signals that are being sent out? I have not used artificial intelligence yet. Maybe I'm more about human intelligence right now, but that doesn't mean that the students that I work with, we hire a number of interns in the areas of data science, data analytics, marketing, but all using data. I just brought on somebody, in fact, who's at UCLA, who specializes in data analytics and using AI. So I'm going to probably be getting a little bit of that. Is an amazing question, though, and great question.
Awesome. Neil, we have one over here. Go ahead, stand up.
Hello, my name is Jeremy Carter. I wanted to ask you, what is the hardest thing you need to do to get in the position that you are in right now in the sport industry world?
Wow. Well, I think like anything else, it's, do your homework. First decide, what interests me, what am I interested in? Look, if you can't tell, I love what I do. I love what I do. I'm excited to come every day and deal with it. I love coming in, talking to students like yourselves. I love it. I just do. So figure out what your passion is. If your passion's going to be, hey, I want to work for, a team at some point, maybe set your sights to work on a local minor league team first, and get those skills there. If you decide, I'm an outgoing guy, I like people, maybe sales, is something that you would really enjoy. And, I get that, but really try to understand, what are my personal strengths? What am I good at? What makes me happy? Because somebody said, and I didn't say it, but if you enjoy what you do, guess what? It'll never feel like work to you. And my job rarely feels like work to me. Every once in a while, I have to do something that makes it feel like work. But right now, like what I'm doing right now, this is not work, folks. This is fun, and I really enjoy it. Hey, I have a quick question for both classes. And I know this might be a little bit premature, but how many of you think you might want to get a job in sports, not knowing where you want to go with it or not what you want to do? Nobody? Oh, that's what I'd like to see. Wow, awesome. Look, the industry needs smart students, smart kids like you, not to use the word kids in a bad way, but they need, we need new blood, new thinking, new ideas. We need people that understand how to use data and how to tell a data-driven story. We need people that are able to separate from other folks that can't. So again, I want to thank, are there any more questions, Dr. Sombrino and Dr. Mala?
No, I think we're good, Neil. Hey, I wanted to thank you for one, the relationship we have with you all. Second is the opportunity for our students to hop onto that get in the game opportunity. We will be promoting that with them here in the next few weeks to try to get some numbers and understand what it is that we're going to do. So thanks for providing that to us.
Well, thanks for inviting me into class. Thanks for asking me to be in class. And really, thanks for being what I would call an active subscriber with SBRnet. Look, and as the term goes, if you have other needs and other questions, don't hesitate to hit me back. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Neil.
Bye, RJ.